Welcome to the Experience Darden podcast. I'm your host, Brett Twitty, and you are listening to a new episode. On this episode of the podcast, I'm excited to share my recent conversation with Kelly Okun. Kelly is a graduate in a full-time MBA class in 2025. I recently reconnected with her, welcomed her back to the podcast to talk about what's happening with her venture, Fairway to Green. I think you're really going to enjoy this conversation. As always, if this conversation is helpful for you, please like this episode and subscribe to the Experience Darden podcast so you never miss an update. Remember, you can always check the episode description for links to Darden blogs, social channels, and more. Now, without further ado, here's my conversation with Kelly Okun. Kelly, welcome back to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Brett. It's great to be back.
Yeah, it's great to talk with you. How's everything going? How are you doing?
It's going well. It's crazy that it's been almost a year since I graduated from Darden. It's flown by. It feels so packed full of activities and progress, and it's just been a really fun year. But I was just back at reunion last weekend, and it was nice seeing everyone, some people I hadn't seen in a year. So it's nice to be part of the Darden community still.
Yeah, the Darden 1-year reunion, which is amazing to me. I was just like, you just left and then you're back. And a lot of people come back.
I know. Yeah, we had a pretty good showing, I thought. I feel like some sections had more attendance than others. Mine was a little slim, but I know a lot of them were out working hard, so can't really complain.
Is that a competition between the sections to see how many people will show up from each section?
I didn't think it was until our first happy hour on Friday, and I saw some of the bigger sections taking photos, and I looked at two of my friends, and I was like, I don't know if 3 people is worth a photo. But some more showed up over the weekend, which was great.
That's great. That's great. Well, thank you again for taking time. I know you've got a lot going on. So for folks who haven't heard your previous podcast, we want to take a little time here at the start and set the scene, give people a chance to get to know you, and then we'll spend the second half of this conversation talking about what you've been up to since graduation. So tell us a bit more about you and your background.
Yeah, so golf has been the center of my life. Anyone who knows me probably has heard me called golf girl. It's just an identity that I can't seem to shake no matter if I'm playing or not anymore. But I played golf at William & Mary just down the road for undergrad and then professionally for 5 years. And afterwards, I wanted to do more to help grow the game. And I think I needed to use my brain because my game wasn't helping me get that platform. And so I ended up working for a golf marketing agency for a few years and had a few opportunities to help grow a media company that we eventually sold to Sports Illustrated to become SI Golf, and absolutely loved that part of the job. I loved both of my jobs at the agency, but there was just something about the media side where I felt like I can make a bigger impact in growing women's golf, and that led me to Darden. So it's been an interesting journey, but I'm really glad I've been on that path.
Yeah, how did you decide you wanted to pursue an MBA?
When I was playing professionally, my dad always joked, like, this is your MBA, like, you're not going back to school. And that was just always in my head. I was terrified of accounting and math as a whole. I was like, why would I want to go back and learn accounting and finance? I barely passed those classes in undergrad. And I realized that I had this opportunity to what I thought was have more free time to build my business and learn those financial and accounting foundational pieces and build my network. And I was like, you know what, an MBA might not be the worst idea in the world. And I was looking for whatever that next step could be to help me get more women into golf and build that side of what I was building in my head for what ultimately became Fairway to Green. And I just got really lucky with my timing that the last round of applications for Darden was, I think I called you the Friday before the Monday that it was due. So it was a very, very quick turnaround, but one of the best decisions I've made.
Yeah, what is it about Darden that appealed to you?
There's just something about the entrepreneurship space at Darden that really spoke to me. I had a friend that I had grown up with, Ellie Jameson, who was a year ahead of me. She had just finished her first year, and she and her classmate launched Play Henry, which is a successful venture now. And it was just really cool to see them build it while they were at Darden. And I was like, okay, if they're having this success and they have the iLab incubator and seemingly all these resources to support entrepreneurs, then that's where I want to be too. And that's really what drew me to Darden.
So entrepreneurship was always part of your path, it seems like. What got you interested in having your own venture?
Looking back on it now, I think when I was a golfer, I was in charge of my own destiny, and I liked having that that challenge. I don't want to say that power, but I liked having that motivation every day to try to do my best and that it was all up to me. And I think a lot of people playing individual sports will say that. It's a little different than a team sport. Not to say that I don't have my team supporting me, but at the end of the day, I'm either going to make it or I'm not, and it's up to me. And I like that pressure I put on myself. I don't know why. And so when I went to work for a company, I really loved working for the marketing agency. I loved my team. I learned so much from them, and um, I really enjoyed it. But I felt like I kept hitting this wall where I wanted to try some things. I wanted to be a little bit more of a risk taker, and I knew it wasn't fair to put the risks on them, and they kept saying no anyway. So I figured, why not try to build out what I wanted to do, have an opportunity to make mistakes, and that would be on me, not on anyone else. And at the end of the day, it's really, I want to help these girls get into golf, and how can I do that? And I wanted that freedom of creativity to try a whole bunch of paths to make it happen. And I'm a little crazy. So I think every entrepreneur has a little bit of craziness in them. And some people might not see the vision until later. And so I think that little bit of craziness is motivating enough to try it on your own. And then hopefully you'll build the team to support you later.
Yeah, can you tell us a little bit more about the evolution of your idea?
Sure. It actually started when I was back at my company. We had just entered an editorial partnership with Sports Illustrated to be SI Golf. We were a golf newsletter called Morning Read. It was a B2C newsletter. And once we had that partnership, I said, this is a great opportunity to use Sports Illustrated's name to try to put more eyes on women's golf. And so I was able to lead a partnership with the Epson Tour, which is sort of like the minor league of the LPGA Tour. And I talked to the Epson Tour about this too. We hate saying it's the female equivalent of the Corn Ferry Tour, but that's what's better known. And so that's the problem in itself. It's how do we make the Epson Tour stand on its own? So the partnership was going really well, but then when they acquired my company, Morning Read, not the one I built, but the one I was working for, they didn't want to continue their women's coverage. But I saw such an opportunity there and was like, okay, I'm going to go back to school, build this myself, and eventually launch the website my first year at Darden in April 2024. And it started with the same mission of trying to use media and get eyes on women so they can get the investment and the support they need to keep playing, because so many talented girls have to quit and not make it to the next level just because of all the financial burden. Talking about girls sleeping in cars, working 2 to 3 jobs just to make it happen. The men's side of the game has a really great structure where there's enough money in the game that the men at the Corn Ferry level can compete full time and not worry about their finances. They have sponsors lined up and a pathway to get to them, but the women don't really have that as much. So I was trying to work on that. And then as I continued building it out, I realized that the junior and college markets were really undercovered and underserved, and that the journey is you just have to be in it to know how to level up at each step. How do you play in high school? How do you play in college? How do you turn professional? How do you make it to the LPGA Tour once you turn professional? There's just so much confusion around that process. And I realized that 94% of female executives played sports growing up, but most girls drop out when they're 12. So how do I close that gap and keep those girls playing at least through high school so they can learn the leadership skills that will help them thrive wherever they go next? They don't have to play golf in college. They don't have to play professionally, but just being in sports in general is such a great vehicle for succeeding later in life. And so that's really what we're still a media company at our core, and all of our content is inspirational for those younger generations. It's educational for the parents and the kids looking to get to the next level. But we were also looking for more ways to directly support them getting to college.
Yeah, that is great. So tell us a little bit about how things are going with your venture. How do things stand now?
Yeah, it's been incredible. It's I feel like the day after I graduated, I immediately flew out to NCAA championships for the women's championship out in San Diego. So there was really no rest between graduating and getting back out there. And the travel's been incredible. The networking that comes out of covering these tournaments at the Annika, the CME Group Championship, the LPGA Tour is just fantastic. And I just wish more fans were out there to see it because the women are so good. And I feel like I know it. Everyone who's there and who works in the industry knows it. And I feel like you just have to watch them for one day or hear one really cool story from them, and then you're hooked. So that's part of the reason why I think media is so important in that space. So we're continuing to do that. We've been launching more podcasts than I realized. We started in writing, but with AI, editing podcasts has become so much easier. And I love having these conversations, and my writers love having conversations. So between the three of us, we probably have 7 of our own shows, 3 of them launching soon, 4 of them out right now. And it's just incredible to see these podcasts taking off and helping those next generations with certain areas of expertise, whether it's college golf coaches learning from other coaches and parents and kids learning what coaches are looking for in the recruiting process, or in our sports umbrella podcast, industry leaders from all across sports. How are athletes managing their money? How are they approaching NIL? I mean, there's just so many interesting topics in sports that the media coverage has been really fun to explore and expand in the last year. We're also launching a college golf recruiting platform, which, again, thanks to AI, is possible. I'm a marketing history background undergrad major. I don't have any coding experience, but thanks to my connections at Darden, a special shout out to Matt Rafferty, I've been able to learn some of these great tools that have allowed me to more directly support these girls get to the next level. And then our third pillar is our educational courses. I really want to make sure these kids love themselves, their parents, and their sports long after they're done playing. And so we're really prioritizing mental health, whether that's quite literally through sports psychology lessons and yoga and ways for the kids and the parents to learn how to center themselves and focus better, but also financial literacy, NIL 101, what's going to take away stress so the parents and the kids feel like they can make the best decisions for their college careers.
Wow, that's a lot. How did you decide you wanted to go in this like podcast direction?
Yeah, it was just something that came about naturally. I'd met a UVA grad, Patrick McCreesh. He started his own company called Symmetry that Galway Holdings is based in the DC area, eventually acquired. And now they're Galway Plus. And honestly, I think Symmetry is coming back into the name somehow, but their specialty was in data analytics and then financial advisory. And they were able to put it together into a sports and entertainment wealth management advisory firm. And they have this huge conference out in Cabo each year where they bring out tons of their clients, which are top athletes in the world, and so many industry leaders. And they were like, we need to get Kelly here and figure out a way to get her involved from a media coverage standpoint. And so that was our first podcast that we launched together. And that was my first one post Darden that I think really got the ball rolling. And once I saw how much easier the editing process was, I was like, this is a great model to partner with companies that want to showcase their leadership, their expertise, whatever it may be. And it's a great way to continue networking and meeting people. And the college golf podcast with the coaches has been a great way to share my recruiting platform and get their feedback on it and build it with them. So it's two-sided win. I don't know how to say that, but not only is it great content and it's helping my partners, but it's also a great way for me to learn and network. So podcasting's been probably one of the best tools I've developed since graduating from Darden.
You think about your first podcast to where you are now. What have you learned over that time?
Oh gosh. Well, I think I actually first started podcasting before I went to Darden, just before. And so there are 2 shows still on my website that I have not picked back up yet, but I would love to. One was, again, just talking to entrepreneurs and how they use their sports background to help them succeed in entrepreneurship. And this was before I even realized that I was going to become an entrepreneur myself. I just loved the mindset and the psychology that athletes have. And the second one was talking to a bunch of my friends who were professional golfers and had been on some sort of relative golf TV show, whether it was Big Break or Altered Course or Holy Moly, and how that background and that exposure helped their professional playing careers. And I think if you look at those 2 podcasts, it's pretty clear that I was going to combine those two into what my business is today. And the passion and the purpose for helping women get to that next level has always been clear. So it's kind of fun to look back. But I would say the conversations have always come easily to me because I'm just always curious about people and I want to learn more. And you can only prepare so many questions, but you're interviewing me right now. You don't know where the conversation will go. So it's nice to have those off the cuff conversations that are unexpected because sometimes those are the best tidbits that come out of a conversation. But I would say the editing has definitely gotten easier. And I'm really thankful for that.
I'm curious about the women's game and storylines you're following or developments that have caught your attention. There's some pretty big names these days.
Yeah, it's been fun to watch. So Craig Kessler just came on as the new LPGA commissioner. This is his first full year. He came on at the end of last year. And I remember he came into the media center at the CME Group Championship, which is the tour championship for the LPGA at the end of the year. And he said, "This is a presentation. I'm going to show you a flywheel." And I was like, this guy had to have gone to business school. You don't just say flywheel without uh, I don't know, just off the cuff. And sure enough, he did go to Harvard, not Darden, unfortunately. But I loved his vision for what he was doing for the LPGA, and he already made so many big moves. And uh, I think the biggest one is the broadcasting. For the first time ever, the LPGA Tour, every single round will be broadcast on TV. And it's crazy to think that it's 2026 and that hasn't happened yet because that's happening for every other men's tour, essentially. So that's been really fun. And I know there's still issues. It's not perfect yet. I know that some media were complaining on Sunday on Sunday when Nelly Corda won the Chevron Championship, the first major of the year. They missed the first hour and a half of her play. So they only got to see the last, three quarters, two-thirds of her round, which wouldn't happen at a PGA Tour event, especially a major. So I think they're still working out some kinks, but I know that it's a huge step, and I applaud them for making that move and investing the money, both from the media side and from the LPGA side, to getting more eyes on the sport that way. And I know Craig is also working on developing star power, and that's just going to help me too, right? They're trying to make the players share their stories in a better way and connect with the fans, which has always been my philosophy is once you get to know someone, you're going to root for them. So I love where he's taking the LPGA, and I think they have some great momentum going into the next year.
Yeah, that's so interesting to think about what's covered and what's on TV. And you're right, the men's game, you can watch it anytime, rewatch it if you want. It's shown, multiple times, across and multiple networks competing to have these tournaments. So it's a different situation. But very cool that you got to talk to the head of the LPGA. Have you had some favorite interviews that you've done along the way as you think back on? I mean, it's probably hard to pick one, but any recent conversations that stand out, from your podcasts?
Oh gosh. So the podcasts that I've been filming, I like to stockpile. That was one of my other tricks that I learned is, record about 10 and then bulk edit. And then I can release, especially with all the traveling I do. I think I'd be very stressed if I was trying to record while I was on the road all the time. But the two shows I've been working on have been with LPGA players and mini tour players working their way to the LPGA. And everyone just has such an interesting background. Every golfer is so different, but their love for the for the game is the same. Um, Gina Kim is a friend of mine. I'd met her first by playing in a pro-am with her in 2021. And to see her make it back to the LPGA again, just the mental transformation she had to make, was just so fun to see and hear her talk about. And there's just so many fun things that come out of the conversation too that I'm like, oh, that'd be a really great sponsor for you. I'll have to keep a little bit of suspense, but you should all tune into Gina Kim's episode when it launches. But just the stuff that they come up with, what they're passionate about outside of the game, is really surprising. And it's just fun to try to draw some connections so that they can get those sponsors, or, maybe they have a fellow fan in that other hobby that now they're like, oh, I'll support Gina Kim because this is my person. She gets me. So I've just loved every single conversation. Gina was just easy to point out because she was one of the first ones I did for the LPGA podcast, but there's so many incredible stories out there waiting to be told. And I'm just trying to do my part.
I love that. people may be listening to this podcast and wondering, like, what does it take to make it to the LPGA tour? Um, would you shed a little bit of light on that? Because I know a bit about it, but I don't know it as well as you do, and I'm sure our listeners are curious.
Yeah, definitely. And it's something I didn't understand until I turned pro. And then I was like, okay, now what? um, it's a very complicated process. It's changed a little bit since I retired, but generally it's the same process. So there's something called qualifying school. You might hear someone call it Q school. Sometimes it's called Q series now, where essentially you have a series of tournaments that you need to go through before you can earn your LPGA tour card. And that's the most mainstream way to earn that status. So you don't just turn pro and say, okay, I'm going to go play in this LPGA tour event. There are quite a few steps in between. So the first stage of Q school, when I was playing, it all took place on 3 courses out in Palm Springs in August. So 120 degrees, desert, 400 girls for 100 spots. And when I was playing, around even helped you qualify through 4 days, got you to the stage 2. Um, Now I think you have to shoot 2 to 6 under throughout those 4 days. And now there's a few different qualifying sites. So you can, it's a little, I don't know, it's a little tougher because you have to choose the right location for you. And whatever that location has, those are the scores. So you might get in with a 2 under in Florida, but a 4 under in California. You just don't know. Um, so after that, those 100 girls play in stage 2, and the girls who lost their status or want to improve their status on the Epson Tour, which is the step below the LPGA, they're all now competing against each other to try to get to the next level. And I don't know how many of those girls make it through. I'm going to guess around 80, but I'd have to check. And then you go to stage 3, or now they're calling it final qualifying, final Q. And so now not only do you have those girls that made it through those first 2 stages and some of the Epson Tour players that made it through, but now you have the LPGA Tour players who might have lost their status or who want to improve their status come back through. And so it's a weeding out process, but new players are added at each level. And I believe the top 20 or so girls will earn their card that way or re-earn their card. And that's sort of the high level, which is a little crazy, but there's whole different statuses, different categories where you can play in every tournament. You're only going to qualify for the first few tournaments, and then you have to play your way into more. So that's the way everyone gets started. And now if you don't gain your status, but you make it through stage 1, you get some status on the Epson Tour, which is the qualifying tour to the LPGA. And if you gain enough status that where you can play in enough events and place in the top 15 on the money list, essentially, they use points at the end of that year, then you can earn your LPGA card that way. So if you don't make it through Q school, it's not the end of the world. But it's a process. It's very hard to earn your card and get to the LPGA level.
Yeah, just the numbers, the way it works, staggering. And the quality of golfer, right? So you think about like the group of people who show up at these qualifiers. Like these are people who are the best junior golfers. They're the best collegiate golfers. They're, like the 0.001% of women's golfers.
Yep. And you have to be on the right week. If you don't have the scores that week, you're going to have to find another way to get there. And since I've played about the year that I retired, a new tour popped up called the Women's All Pro Tour, and Annika Sorenstam now sponsors it. So it's the Annika WAPT. And it's such a critical part of the foundation, I think, to getting to that next level where these college players can play or recently graduated college players, I should say, can play on this tour. And if they're in the top 5, they will, at the end of the season, they automatically advance to stage 2 of Q school, which means they automatically gain some sort of Epson Tour status. So if they don't have a great first week at the first stage, there's still a chance for them to still get onto the Epson Tour, which means there's still a chance for them to get to the LPGA the next year. So there's a new pathway that's opened up that a lot of the girls are really excited about.
Yeah, but that being on with golf, it's not always so easy. Like maybe some
No.
other sports, you might have other teammates around you. But to your earlier point, way back at the beginning of the conversation, it's an individual sport and it comes and goes. It's one of the hardest games in the world, if not the hardest game. So, how you feel on a given day can change within an 18-hole round.
Exactly. And if you win one tournament, you're one of the best. And that you can't say that as most sports leagues or teams. You have to win quite a few to win a championship and be one of the best. But sometimes you just need one week and then you're part of that crowd. And I think tying it back to entrepreneurship, that's why so many athletes are great at um, taking those risks. They're used to failing every day. They're loose, especially golfers. We're used to losing every day. It's a win is rare. And so I think you build up that mentality where it's easy to adapt, pivot, learn quickly, and just keep prototyping and moving forward.
Yeah, there's a great line from the recent Jerry West documentary, Jerry West, the logo, which is on Amazon Prime. I don't know if you've seen that, where he insists that sports is really about learning how to lose because there's really only one winner at the end, right? You have a champion. NBA, there's one team, in the NFL, there's one team. I guess in golf, it's a little bit different from that, but ultimately, like it's all about learning how to manage losing and disappointment. And it's particularly compelling in his situation because he was on like a lot of great Lakers teams that ultimately lost a lot of NBA championships, still incredible teams, but nevertheless didn't win as much as they wanted to. And it's an interesting way to think about the lessons you learn from sports and the kind of resilience that comes from those experiences.
Yeah, it reframes how you look at the rest of your life for sure. I think it makes you more grateful. It makes you more motivated. It can make you uh, more ambitious, I think, in some ways. I never thought I would be an entrepreneur, but here we are, and it's a risk every day, but I love it. And like I said earlier on this podcast, it all depends on me. And if I want to keep going, great. If not, then I'm sure there's a great job out there somewhere that I would enjoy. But right now, my passion is for what I'm doing, and I hope to keep doing it for a long time.
Yeah, I'm curious, Kelly, how has your Darden experience been helpful to you, your MBA, as you've launched your own venture and kind of helped it grow?
Yeah, I would have to say mainly the community, the academics and the learnings that came out of the classroom definitely still use every day. Financial modeling, who would have thought? But it's so important for pitch decks and pitch competitions. But really, the community. I'm still close with a bunch of my professors. I actually just had dinner with one of them a couple nights ago, and I was like, "Hey, I have this question about this opportunity that came up. What are the risks? What are the pros? How should I frame it?" And so just being able to have those mentors and supporters on call essentially is incredible. But beyond the professors, my classmates, I always considered them my future business partners. My uncle had told me that before I started my MBA, and it's so true. I had the person who sat next to me during my first class in Q1 help me with my taxes. I mean, we always joke to be my future CFO, and I hope that'll be the case someday when I can afford to pay him. But there's just so many great supporters. I already mentioned Matt Rafferty. We go back and forth all the time with AI tools and different production opportunities. Since he's more in the video space, he was always a huge help for me when I'd go to golf tournaments for my coverage. And I mean, who doesn't want a drone filming and filming the golf course and making his production skills are incredible. Um, and I can't say Matt without saying Ben Foote too. So we were all the Batten Fellow founders for my class, which was a grant opportunity for those who wanted to pursue their ventures full time after school. And I've run into Ben quite a few times over the last couple of months, whether it was at his marathons I would run and see him doing, showcasing his nugs, which were his energy chews that he founded with his wife, Paige. But yeah, the three of us are always, we have a BFF text thread or a group chat where we're always throwing ideas out to each other and supporting one another. Um, I think I spoke about this last time I was on the podcast too, but KPI is the Women's Founders Accountability Group that Damon DeVito started. And then Jim Zaffoletti took over when I was at Darden. And I still keep in touch with so many of those women in that group. Some of them are here in DC, and I work out of the Sands family grounds, which is, I mean, who gets a free office out of business school when you're starting a venture? It's incredible. And so I've been able to bring in a few of the other founders from KPI into that circle as well. So we have a nice co-working space. But we're just always supporting each other at each other's events, bouncing ideas off of each other. Entrepreneurship can be lonely. So I think having that community is really important. And I mean, that, and then there's bad as a whole. I mean, if I wouldn't be here and doing this, if I didn't have their moral and financial support, and I was lucky enough to win the Kathy Carr Award just a couple weeks ago, and that just gave me so much more runway to keep pursuing Fairway to Green and my mission to get more girls into sports. So my business would not be where it is without Darden, that's for sure.
Yeah, I saw that you won that award. That's amazing.
Thank
Were
you.
you expecting to win it? I mean, did you have any idea
No,
that you might be the recipient?
I had no idea. I thought Ben was going to win it. Honestly, I thought Ben Foot was going to win it. Um, Jason Brewster ran the whole process, and we got to meet the Carr family and interview with them and some other people at Baton and last year's winner, Liv Cleary. And I hoped it went well. I had honestly just gotten off a really early flight back from Augusta from a 10-day media trip. And I was like, well, I hope I make sense. And thankfully, the conversations all went well. And uh, Jason would not tell us who won until he made the announcement at First Coffee. So we were all there waiting. None of us had any idea. And I started tearing up once he said my name because I really was not expecting it. So I'm just so grateful. And the Carr family is so supportive. And I know it's not just the Carr family, it's their friends and colleagues as well that were all part of the committee. And just what a great group of people. And to just keep Kathy's legacy alive. She had started the iLab, and that's where I had found so much traction. So it just felt like a really full circle moment.
Nice to be able to say you were coming back from a 10-day media the
Yeah.
trip down in Augusta, I assume, for the women's tournament as well as the Masters.
Yeah, so I was there for the Augusta National Women's Amateur, the ANWA, and then I was lucky enough to score one day with the Masters. So if I look at it from a milestone perspective, my first year applying for that credential, rejected outright for both, which makes sense. I was still a student. I wasn't, even though I was working on it full time, I wasn't really working on it full time because I was also trying to get through Darden as well. So it was a really big moment to get that ANWA media credential approved this year and get the pass for the Wednesday. So I didn't see any of the competition, but I got to see the part 3 contest, which was really fun. See a bunch of friends. It's such a small world out there. You just don't, it's, I don't know, that was my first time at Augusta and it was absolutely beautiful. But I did email Jason probably at like 3:30 the next morning before my flight saying, so what are we presenting on tomorrow? I feel like we need a little more detail on what we're supposed to be presenting. And thankfully he responded right away and I felt prepared going into the call. But yeah, Augusta was an incredible experience. And I hope next year I can build on the momentum and maybe get a master's credential as well.
Yeah, historic Augusta National Women's Amateur this year. Some really big names too. There's a lot of incredible young women golfers coming up. I think of Astros Talley and a few other people. That must have been great to be around for that.
Yeah, yeah. And I saw Astra's Tally. Actually, I didn't see her hit it into the water on, oh gosh, was it 12? I'll have to go back in my head on it. But when she first had her tough hole and lost her lead, I saw her hitting from across. So she had already hit it in the water twice at that point. But she battled back with a birdie on the next hole. And then she had a poor tee shot that brought her into the water, I think on 16. And then she birdied the next hole. And when she came off the course, she was understandably upset. That was a tough loss there. But one, she's 17 and she had the maturity to still go and do an interview afterwards. I don't know if many 17-year-olds would be open to that. And two, everything she said about just being grateful for her support system, knowing that this tournament didn't define her, that she was still a good golfer. I mean, that is the confidence you need to succeed. And I think she's going to be one of the best because if she knows that at 17 and believes that and has that confidence, she'll go anywhere and everywhere. So I'm really excited to see where she takes us. And then Maria Jose Marin won, and she had just won the NCAA championship individually last year, which I was able to see, which was awesome. And then to see her win at the Women's Amateur Latin America just in December. I mean, she's on a roll. She's actually playing this week in the LPGA Tour event, so in Mexico. So I'm just really excited to see where she goes next because she's a star player too, and closer to turning pro probably than Asterisk is, and she just committed to Stanford. So not a bad program to commit to if you want to be good at golf.
Yeah, I was about to say, if you're a women's golfer looking to make it to the next level, Stanford has quite a track record
They
there.
do, yeah.
And credit to her for doing that interview. And a lot of people
Hmm.
don't do those interviews. There's been some relatively recent prominent male golfers who have opted not to do interviews after unfortunate loss, disappointing results, and um, I credit anybody. It's not easy, but it does take a lot of sort of courage to stand up there to answer questions, but also I think it's also a good show of sportsmanship. That's kind of what golf is, right? Where you might be disappointed in the outcome, but you still have to congratulate your opponent and say thanks and all these kinds of things.
Very true. And I believe that the women especially just see how great of an opportunity and how much a privilege it is to play golf and to play at that high level. And you'll see time and again how much they put back into the fans, into their sponsors. They're such good business partners that are going untouched, I guess, really. Hopefully more brands are starting to see the value in that because the women seem to care a lot more. And they're more open to being vulnerable and putting in the time and effort. So it's fun to see that it's happening even at the high school level, which is crazy to say when you're talking about one of the best golfers already in the world.
Yeah, that is crazy. I'd never seen Astros tally until the Curtis Cup last summer, and it was like, wow, I can't imagine being that good at something at like 16. It's crazy.
Hmm. I know. I think the first time I heard her name, she was 15. I think she was second after the first round of the US Women's Open or something crazy like that. And I was like, oh, she's going to have a great career. And sure enough, it's only just starting for her. So I'm excited to see where she goes.
Well, Kelly, I'm curious, what's next for Fairway to Green? What are you thinking about?
Yeah, well, the first thing I want to do is get my college recruiting platform live. It's been a labor of love, but I'm ready to share it with the world, get the feedback, keep making it better. Especially now that postseason in golf is starting and the coaches are starting to recruit in earnest now, and especially after NCAAs wrap up in May. The timing's crucial just to get it out now and get a really great beta testing version of it done over the summer while they try to use it. So that's our biggest thing. For the educational courses, I'm partnering with about 7 different experts right now on a variety of courses and just really excited to see where those lead. And um, I like to be a connector. And if I can connect all of these different aspects of sports and competitive golf and put them all into one package that allows a family and their kids to navigate it just a little bit easier. I'm just really excited for that. I don't think that's really out there yet. I think there are one-on-one packages here and there, or courses, I should say. But to put it all together and offer that to these kids and their families at an affordable price, I think that's everything is affordable because I want every kid who has a dream of playing to be able to do their best to get there. And junior golf, just in general, is not the cheapest sport. So anything I can do to make that easier. I know when I played professionally is when I first started working one-on-one with a sports psychologist, and it completely changed my mindset. Not that I had an unhealthy one to start. I was reading all the Bob Rotella books and still a regret that I didn't get to meet him when I was down in Charlottesville. But I it was just such a different way to approach the game in a healthier way. And it made golf less of my identity and more of just a fun thing to do. And obviously something I still care deeply about. But when I talk to junior golf parents, they don't want to pay $200 an hour for their kid to do that, which is understandable. So if I can make those lessons accessible at a younger age, I think I can hopefully help them become better golfers, navigate life a little easier, and I'll do it without paying way too much for it. So I'm really excited for all of that. And then obviously our media will still be going strong. We have a great few events coming up NCAAs. We're going back to the Solheim Cup in the Netherlands this year. That was the first event that I'd covered when I was still at Darden. I missed one of Dean Beardsley's classes, and I felt so bad. But I was like, "But Dean Beardsley, it's the Solheim Cup. I think I have to go." And so, yeah, and now he's President Beardsley, but um, yeah, it'll be fun to have that full circle moment again and do it from the other side of the ropes with some friends I had met in the media center from Europe on that in 2024. So a lot of good things to look forward to this year.
Yeah, that's awesome. What a lineup. Yeah, Solheim Cup was a little bit closer that last time up in
Yeah.
Gainesville at RTJ. And now you got to go to Netherlands. Oh, how terrible that you got to
I
get on a
know.
plane
I
and go over
know.
there. Gosh, it would be tough. Well, Kelly, I'm so happy for everything that's happening for you and your business. And thanks for coming back on the podcast. I saw you won that award and I thought, gosh, this is a great time to have her come back and just update us on what she's been up to. So thank you so much for the time.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Happy to help, and go Hoos.
And that was my conversation with Kelly Okun, a graduate in our full-time MBA class of 2025. As always, if you have any comments, suggestions, requests, anything like what's covered here on the podcast, we're all ears. We can be reached at Darden, that's DARDEN, @virginia.edu. Until next time, stay safe, be well, and thanks for listening.